We have a guest in the studio. Albert Kochei is the vice chairperson of the Center for Multi-Party Democracy Kenya. He was the first speaker of the County Assembly of Elgeyo Marakwet. And now that we have an election looming in that county, he is throwing his hat in the ring. Albert, good morning.
Good morning, fellow Kenyans. If I can follow the trend that was set by the fourth president, fellow Kenyans.
Fellow Kenyans.
Good morning, fellow Kenyans, and enjoy your holiday.
Kabisa.
I wish City quick recovery.
Kabisa.
Absolutely.
Welcome to Kenya's Biggest Conversation. Welcome to the hot seat of the Biggest Conversation. Yep. So it's a lot of work that you have done.
Yes.
You're currently the vice chairperson of the Center for Multi-Party Democracy.
Absolutely.
What does that mean?
What it means is that we want to do a lot of focus on the post-election events that happen in 2022 election. I believe that, in fact, I remember we've had about 2 meetings, and we are looking deep into getting the views of Kenyans. Some of the shortfalls that happened on the election that are just ended, and again, some of the gains that we want to celebrate, and what is that we should be able to do going forward. And one of the things that we want to focus in this CMD, at least during my term, is the position of opposition in post 2010 constitution.
Okay.
And special focus to be given to the county assemblies. Remember, I've had an opportunity to serve as a speaker of Elgeyo Marakwet County. And not only that, I am the founding member of the County Assemblies Forum, the forum that brings together all the county assemblies. So I served as Secretary General for 5 years. And indeed, when you look at the functioning of the parliament, both houses, vis-a-vis the county assemblies, and in particularly the role of opposition, is, I can almost say it's dead. Look at a county that, like now in 2022, we sort of have 2 coalitions. So you are either in Kenya Kwanza or in Azimio. So there are counties like in Kisii, where ordinarily you should expect the members of county assembly representing Kenya Kwanza and Azimio. Now, if the government is Kenya Kwanza, then it is expected by constitution that we should be able a vibrant opposition in the counties. And that is one of the things that we are not seeing. And so one of the things that we really want to focus as CMD this time around is to build the capacity and look at all the several pieces of legislation on how then can we be able to help the county assembly to carry out their, not only the oversight, but checks and balances on the government.
However, Albert, the Constitution does not envisage something called opposition.
I'm aware of that.
It has a minority and majority.
I'm aware of that.
And this is because you're looking at the county assembly performing its function as a house.
Absolutely.
No, as, providing the oversight to the executive.
Absolutely.
Not doing the bidding of the executive. When you were speaker of the Elgeyo Marakwet County in that first term, how many members were not in the Jubilee coalition then in your assembly?
One.
One out of how many?
1 out of 30.
So 29 were Jubilee alliance.
Absolutely.
It was coalition or alliance. Then?
Absolutely.
Jubilee coalition.
Absolutely.
And then 1 was in the minority.
Actually, it was this one for Aaron Mao, the peak. Yes. And actually, that was the MCA for my current senator.
Elgeyo Marakwet.
Absolutely.
Current senator.
It's called Embobut
in
Marakwet East. Yes.
So, did he have any role? Was he?
Well,
so he was basically the leader of the minority.
Absolutely, yeah.
And he was the chair of the oversight committees.
And that one, and in particularly the Park and Pick.
Yes.
So we have one guy with the chief whip, the minority whip. At the same time, the chair of Park and Pick. And then the law County Government Act by then required that the minority must sit in the county assemblies board.
Yes.
So again, sitting at the county assembly service board, at the same time, chair of public investment committee,
chair of the public account committee,
and leader of minority at the same time. Yes.
Okay. Here we are saying essentially the call is on moving forward to say that the position of opposition must, almost saying that it must be entrenched. We're saying that it must be, and that you must have a vibrant opposition. What characterizes a vibrant opposition?
One, and I think we have good history. We have the time that the current president was in parliament. You remember the Martin Shikugus of this world, the James Orengos by then of this world, where they were able to put a lot of pressure on government and working again with the civil society. And I think that is in the 2010 constitution, we have sort of lost that vibrancy of opposition. And I'm happy that the current president sort of, he has already made a lot of statement to the effect that I want the opposition to play their role, as it were.
Okay.
Now, and the challenge that we have is the current structure of the constitution only allows the minority group just to probably to build pressure through media. Just doing a press conference, because in parliament, there are not sufficient structures that can be able to allow the minority group to be able to build a lot of pressure. And again, remember the mess that, the mess that was brought in the previous government, whereby the supposed minority, which was the ODM, decided to go to bed with the government. And so that has confused the whole thing. So as CMD, we are trying to be able to have, actually to give a platform, a conversation. Probably this is a conversation that I would imagine that as time goes, Kenyans will be able to pick it up.
But isn't it also then that there must be something that is the ethos of a group of people who, for whatever reason, find themselves in a position of the would-be opposition? That there is something you fundamentally believe in that would then fuel this position, that it wouldn't matter whether you were in government, that would be the ethos that you carry through. If you were on the other side, nobody would have to ask you to be vibrant because that was the very thing that propelled you.
Absolutely. The driving force.
Exactly. But I'm seeing that missing because of one of the things that you mentioned, that there is this inclusivity now that has been introduced into the way in which things have been done. Let's all just be part of this party. We don't have to make a lot of noise. Let's all just be.
Let's not complicate things.
No, let's not complicate things. How can you then have an opposition where everybody just wants to be part of this thing in the first place? How can you do that
I think
without an ethos as well?
I think again, and I like that, because you see, even after having the ethos and the driving force, there is again, remember, you get into parliament through political party. And the challenge that we have now is that, yes, you might be having a lot of energy to be able to, you can articulate issues, you can build pressure on the government to do ABCD, but again, the political party that sponsored you to parliament might have decided otherwise. Okay, and I think that is one of the big challenge that we have right in Kenya, because I can tell you we have good crop of leaders in parliament. Trust me, there are guys even in their own. They can be able to push an agenda, but because of the political parties that they belong in, they find themselves now like, I have to function in line with what the political party requires. Okay, and we have seen that, and I think I blame again the 2010 constitution that does not give the vibrancy, it does not give the room for parliamentarians to be able to build pressure on the government. And the last one, if you look at it critically, and I think in the previous regime, a lot of members of parliament would want to identify themselves with government. And I know it's good to be in government, but I know, again, you need to realize that when you go to parliament, you are there to represent the interests of Kenyans. You are there to be able to oversight the excess powers of the executive and so forth. Yes.
Then I think the success of what you say that you're setting out to do as a CMD would be basically reining in the executive. It's not necessarily supporting the assemblies. It is reining in the executive, so that the executive does not overreach into the assembly and try to control what the assembly is doing. Because if the assembly, for example, you served as speaker of the county assembly that was almost homogeneous, and it was checking a governor who is also from the same party. But you had to play your role as an assembly to make sure that whatever the governor of Elgeyo Marakwet is doing is representing the interest of the people, is in line with the interest of the people. So there are times when you'd be expected to say, we don't approve this budget because of these issues. We don't approve this project because of these issues. We are not going to just sit here and rubber stamp your nominees to the CECMs because we have an issue here, because we have received complaints from the people. So it's not just sitting back and saying, just sisi tuko Jubilee na governor ni Jubilee, so Kayande.
Yes. And the other thing that we want to do in this dispensation, we want to look at the political parties of Kenya and look at the principles of devolution. and whether political parties, because you see, let me tell you, in matters of devolution, it's not a choice. You cannot say that this political party believes in devolution more than the other one. Okay? So we want to do a checklist. Can the political parties of Kenya, each one, even in their manifesto, be able to drive the matters of devolution? And that is one of the, and I think we're having a lot of conversation with the development partners. I think the other day we had a Danish team that are going to build capacity on that. And so we will be able to work with the ORPP, registered political parties. We want to look at IBC. We want to look at the PPLC, Political Parties Liaison Committee, so that then we can be able to help Kenyans to have all the political parties must be able to be driving the devolution agenda, because devolution here to stay. Devolution is the only component that has made all Kenyans to celebrate the fruits of their labor.
Are these political parties interested though?
Yes.
Currently?
Yes.
Kenya Kwanza and Azimio.
Yes.
Is
At least,
Kenya Kwanza, because Kenya Kwanza has the majority everywhere.
Absolutely.
Is Kenya Kwanza really interested in this conversation that you're having, where you want to basically say that you have a strong and almost independent legislative arm of government that then provides sufficient checks and balances on the executive?
Yeah, I think so, because I think our team captain, His Excellency the President, has made several statements to the effect that under his regime, he would want to see, first of all, remember, during the time that we are launching the manifesto, he said that he would want to ensure that all the functions that have not been transferred must be able to be transferred to the counties. And the other thing, and you had the COG chair, His Excellency Waiguru, mentioning that in the William Ruto administration, we'll want to see more funding to be given to the counties. And so I believe strongly that working with the county assemblies, working with the Senate, working with the COG, the devolution agenda under the William Ruto administration is going to be strengthened like never before. And again, His Excellency the President has made it very clearly that we would want, and that is one area, Latif, that I really celebrate, that for the first time, we will not be looked like we are held hostage by the Constitution and say members of cabinet cannot be queried at the floor of the House. And that is another level of doing a lot of oversight. And in this, the members, the senators, the Senate Speaker and the National Assembly, they have been asked to go and relook at the standing orders, so that then members of cabinet can be able to answer questions before the floor of the House. And that is one component that we had lacked for a minute. Let me tell you how it happens. And I know you know that if you have an issue on roads, for instance, and we do not have anybody to ask that question. So on Thursday, what you call the statement hour, you then rise up as a member of Amachoke, for instance, then you ask the chair of budget, chair of roads,
transport.
Yeah, then the chair will be able to look for a member of cabinet in a certain corner, probably in Sarova Hotel in Mombasa. And like this and this, Kenyans asking this. Then you come back again and say, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is the feedback. And nobody counts the shade.
This is the question I asked and the answer I got.
Exactly. So we want to see a scenario whereby the members of cabinet, both at the county assemblies and the National Assembly, can be able to answer questions before the members of parliament and members of Congress. That, to me, I think they are going to elevate the whole aspect of oversight.
I want to go back to this issue because we're still saying that an individual, whether you are then representative of the people who've essentially voted you in, you're beholden by your party. That you can have the most glorious plans in the world, that you can decide that you want to come in for change and, for have a reformist agenda, etc., etc. But it is what the party dictates that you will essentially do. Now, whether you are in government or whether you are in the opposition, the thing remains true. So hadn't we, and for me, I'm going to say fix, because it is a problem. And I've always said that one of the issues that we have is that the politics so greatly played on the continent is not ideological, but that it is character-based. How then, because at the end of the day, what we're saying here is, Kochei, that we are fighting for an opposition to then hold government to account.
Yes.
Can you have that if the very tenets upon which these things are built are not ideological? They are character-based. It's character-based politics. It's individual-based politics. It's that we are going to do what the majority will do, essentially.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
Yes, I
They're going to
agree
do
with
what the
you.
majority
I
will
agree.
do.
I agree.
So how do you then come
I
and
agree.
say, well, we're going to oppose this if we have a reformist agenda, or if we say that we are insisting that government bring down the price of food, bring down the price of commodities, step up on the development agenda? Well, that's great. And even demanded. But how do you have that really done if the folks that you're asking to do this truthfully are not interested in that?
And I think I agree with you, 100%. I agree with you. This is my thinking. We would want to realize that opposition is not only the debate. It's just been the vibrancy of debate. Looking at the role of the member of parliament, you look at the issues of representation, legislation. I strongly believe that a vibrant somebody who has a ethos can still be able to influence the functioning of opposition, even through the bills. You can be able to, and let me tell you, one of the things that is great in this country is we have a vibrant civil society. So we would want to see then how do we be able to partner with the civil society to drive that agenda. So we have a lot of bills that need to be able to be passed by the opposition. We have a lot of legislation that can be done. We have again a lot of statement building pressure on government through the committees that we're able to have. So my request for the members of parliament, and not even before I go to that, one of the challenges again that we have is the number. You remember in the National Assembly, we have 369 members of parliament. The sittings are on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and on Thursday. Let me tell you, for you to be noticed by the speaker, it takes a miracle.
And then there's rank.
And then there is rank. You understand? And that is where the safe haven now is likely to be on Senate, because probably you are only 47 and so forth. So I think
You're 67 in the Senate.
The 67. So I want to call upon the young, vibrant members of parliament that I've called. Rise up to the occasion. Kenyans are watching you. Kenyans are looking out. Kenyans woke up in the morning and they elected a lot of young people that they believe that they are going to bring a lot of revolution in the parliament. And I think they still have an opportunity to be able to do that, especially through the legislation. We want to see a lot of bills. We want to see a lot of debates that are going to touch and transform the people of Kenya.
My point of not really departure, but a bit of slightly off departure with what you're saying, is when it comes to categorizing the parliament as having an opposition in parliament. Just because they're a minority. Minority opposition, fine. But then parliament should play that role of oversight as an institution. Say, for example, the new leader of the majority in the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wa. Kimani Ichung'wa was for a long time the chairman of the Budget Committee.
Correct.
Then he was removed and the new chairman of Budget Committee came in, and this was Kanini Kega. When Kimani Ichung'wa was
slept on the job.
When Kimani was chairman of the Budget Committee, the Budget Committee would basically look at the budget policy statement and review the implementation reports of the budget from the National Treasury. And questions will be asked of what the National Treasury is basically saying.
Yes.
So executive has come and said, we want to focus our budget this year on the Big Four agenda, blah, 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 blah. Looking at the various reports of the Kimani Ichung'wa committee, then they will keep on asking, you said you're focusing on the Big Four agenda, but we don't have an implementation matrix. We don't have anything against which to judge your progress of this thing. And now you're coming to ask for more money. We don't even know what you've done with the money that we gave you the last time. But in the end, they would come out and say, we approve the budget. That to me always stands out as a failure of the Budget Committee is asking the right questions. The Parliamentary Budget Office is asking the right questions, but they are making the wrong recommendation or they're making the wrong decision at the end of it. So you sort of feel like Parliament is just basically not doing the job of Parliament.
Just stamp is
it's becoming a rubber stamp.
Yes.
And you'll always, in most cases, you're going to have a majority in the National Assembly or in the Senate or in the County Assembly. Not in the National Assembly is going to be aligned to the executive. Like we've seen now with Kenya Kwanza getting post-election alliances. So how can we make sure that Parliament actually plays its role, not of rubber stamping the executive, but of oversighting the executive? it doesn't, that it should not be. There are some areas where it should be across the divide, whether in the majority or minority. If it is taxation that is too much, say no. If the treasury has asked for money and this money you cannot account for it, they cannot account for what you gave them the last time, just tell them no, go back and change.
And I think again it calls to what my sister is talking about, the ethos. It boils again to the individuals, the men and women that the people of Kenya elected them to go to parliament. And I hear your conversation. I hear your conversation. Because when you do a budget public participation, Kenyans will be able to give their views. If you go to the budget office in parliament, they will still give their views. The members of the committee equally will be able to give their views. But the problem is when we have a sleeping opposition, because then I want to believe that the role of opposition in the budget making is to be able to capture the things that the majority have not captured, and that is for the Kenyans. Okay, and it calls for an individual, and that is my rallying call. I want to call upon the young, vibrant Kenyans who have been elected to go to parliament. Please represent the views of people of Kenya adequately, because what we have right now is an opposition that is supposed to be checking on the views of the budget committee. Okay, but then again, at some point down the line, probably some of them, of course, you've been hearing issues to do with compromise and so forth. But again, it called for somebody of character. It called for people of integrity. It called for the people of principle to be able to push the agenda of Kenyans. And my request for the members of parliament right now is, let's rise up to the occasion. Let us ensure that if you belong to Azimio, and I think William Ruto has given the space to Azimio, rise up to the occasion and build pressure on my government. You know, it's an open check. Rise up to the occasion and build pressure on my government so that then we can be able to deliver for the people of Kenya.
Though your numbers may be few, your voices shall be loud.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Albert Kochei is the vice chairperson of the Center for Multi-Party Democracy Kenya. He was the first speaker of the County Assembly of Elgeyo Marakwet between 2013 and 2017. He's here with us today. He's saying, you know, once that seat is declared vacant, he'll also be in the running.
Yes.
For Senator of Elgeyo Marakwet County.
Yes.
And we're talking about the role of county assemblies and the Senate in protecting and strengthening devolution.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The conversation continues in the Situation Room. This morning is Eric Latif. Ndu Oko, our colleague Siti Muga, is away today. Our guest this hour is Albert Kochei, the vice chairperson of the Center for Multi-Party Democracy Kenya, the first speaker of Elgeyo Marakwet County, and an aspirant for the soon-to-be-declared vacant seat of Senator Elgeyo Marakwet. One thing that's very vibrant about Elgeyo Marakwet is, we noticed, first of all, that as soon as President William Ruto was sworn in, one of the people who was expected to join his cabinet, or at least a senior position, was your current senator, Kipchumba Murkomen. And congratulations to him, and wish him all the best.
Absolutely.
And then now we have seen already people are starting to align themselves and declaring their interest in running for the seat of senator. None of you challenged Kipchumba in this election.
Yeah, absolutely.
But all of you are now here saying that you'd like to succeed Kipchumba in a by-election. So many people who have come out to be aspirants so far. Why do you want to be senator?
First of all, allow me to take this opportunity to join the people of Ainabkoi constituency and was in Kochei County to mourn the demise of the former member of parliament, Mheshimiwa William Chepkut. I think a man of substance, a man that had a lot of lives, and we mourn him, and we want to say that may his soul rest in eternal peace. I am aware that as a family and friends, we will continue supporting the family so that we can have a decent send-off. I want to present myself, my candidature, once the seat will be declared vacant, to the people of Elgeyo Marakwet County. I have had an opportunity to serve that great county as the founding speaker of Elgeyo Marakwet County. And before then, in 2011 and 2012, I actually participated in civic education to the people of Kenya. And I think I was in most of the media houses to teach Kenyans on what was then to come. That was devolution and the counties and so forth. And I ran for the governor in 2013 when nobody actually understood what even devolution is all about. I remember I could do some town hall meetings and like people are like, what is it that you're talking about? What is a governor? You know, what is a governor? But because I had in-depth knowledge about the constitution, I was in a position to run for the governor. And if you look at even the checks, you look at the number of candidates that ran for governor at that time, I think we had only 2. Okay, then of course after nomination, my former governor, the first governor of Tolgos, was able to beat me, and I accepted, and then I ran for speaker. Even then, majority of the people believed that I should be able to go to be a CC, you know, but I knew exactly what was up to, because for me, devolution is my DNA. Secondly, I have had a lot of interest in this county because when I ran for the governor, I was able to transverse. Let me tell you, my brother, Elgeyo Marakwet County is one of the unique counties. We have three geographical. You know, we have the upper.
You have a highland.
We have the highland. We have the hanging valley. It's called the hanging valley.
Why is it called the hanging valley? Because
I mean, it's like a step. You know, there is a highland up, then down, like you go to a place like Tambach, TTC. That is what you consider to be a hanging valley. Then now there is the valley, to which now the other one was hanging on. Okay, right. Then there is the valley. That's Flospa, Rimoy, and so forth. And it is a county full of potential, particularly on the sports tourism. Now, I am presenting my candidature to run for the Senate of Elgeyo Marakwet County because I believe that I've been tried and I've been tested. I believe Senate is not a house for trial. Remembering the function of Senate, it is to protect, to preserve, and to fight for the interest of two. One, the counties and the governments within those counties and the people that belong to those counties. Thirdly, I have had a lot of interest in devolution. Once I left the speakership, I am a consultant for devolution. And I can tell you I've consulted for about 37 counties on matters of devolution. So when it comes to devolution, it is on my fingertip.
When
and
you say you've consulted, what exactly have you been doing?
I mean, I do a lot of training. I do a lot of training for the county assemblies. I do a lot of training for the county government on matters of devolution and of course on the leadership and so forth. So I am offering my candidate under the United Democratic Alliance as one of the candidates that is going to run for the position of Senate. Now, 3 things that is in my mind. One, doing a stock take of what Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen has done. When Murkomen became the senator, the revenue allocation for Elgeyo Marakwet County was 2.4 billion. 2.4 billion. As at the budget for 2019-2020, the amount that had been shared to Elgeyo Marakwet was 4.1 billion. So looking at 2013-14 to 19-20, we've had a whole 25 billion. An amount of money that has gone to Elgeyo Marakwet County. And I think I want to give credit to Murkomen because he has played a role in ensuring that a lot of resources have come. So I want to go and elevate that conversation in Senate so that we can be able to have a lot more money to be increased. One of the areas that I'm looking at, and I think you began by saying Elgeyo Marakwet is a county of champions. Champions is what? 2 things. One, we are champions in athletics. We have Kamarin National Stadium.
That one.
You understand that?
The historic
Kamarin. To date, it's not complete. It's total shame.
It'll become in 6 months' time.
It's a total shame that 10 years down the line, where the London Marathon Kipruto won come from Elgeyo Marakwet County, but we have Capsite training camp that is not complete. We have Kamarin Stadium that is not complete. And I think one of the conversations that I want to drive at Senate, working with His Excellency the President again in terms of priority areas, is to ensure that even if it means getting a special grant, so that we can be able to complete that Kamarin once and for all. The other thing I want to elevate the conversation is the empowering the county assemblies to conduct their oversight and representation in a manner that the Constitution envisioned. Let me tell you what is happening, good people. Last week I was training a county, induction a county, and what surprised me is midway they abolished Public Accounts Committee completely. They just abolished. Reason being, they discovered they were not doing their job. Yet, if you look at that county,
They abolished the Public Accounts Committee
absolutely,
in the county assembly.
absolutely.
But
Yet,
how is that possible?
because I'm told that the report was tabled in the House by the chair, and of course, I'm told there were a lot of witch hunt from the governor. And the recommendation from the Auditor General regarding that report was so grave that it could have even sent the governor home. You understand? And then now you realize that the report is tabled in the House and there is nobody to second. Yeah,
Because
there's
nobody wants to touch it.
Yes, nobody wants to touch it. So that is one conversation that I want to rally my colleague senators, in quotes, if God gives me an opportunity. How then can be able to ensure the public accounts committees of the county assemblies are fully equipped, given the necessary machinery to be able to bite? Because let me tell you, good people, we are, comfortable seated in Nairobi, but the things that are happening in the county, particularly in the public accounts committees, that is one area that I want to be able to breathe a lot of life, so that we can be able to ensure that we put the governors on their toes in terms of expenditure that is going to be spent. The last thing that I want to say is that I have a vast knowledge of that county. I literally understand the plights of what our people are going through. We are aware again that Flosspa Mining Company has been dead for the last about 4 years or so. And I know when William Ruto was campaigning, we made a commitment that within 100 days, a recommendation report will be able to be tabled. So that's one of the things that I want to go and follow it up. So because, a lot of people in that part of Kenya are suffering to date because of the closure of that company. So I want to offer that representation in Senate that is going to make my county more broad than what Murkomen has done. Again, to be able to offer robust conversation that is going to build more resources to go to Elgeyo Marakwet County, and above all, we be able to elevate the partnership. I strongly believe that at the sitting at the National Assembly and national government, the Parliament, we should be able to open opportunities for our people, partnership opportunities. And again, I have looked at the Constitution very well. Remember, my good friends, in 1963, that is when devolution was entrenched in the Constitution of 1963, and then it was abolished in 1966. Now, I have looked at for the last 10 years, and that is what I would want to push for. We need to have a national convention to discuss the milestones that we have had for the last 10 years. And please don't confuse this with devolution conference. There is that wing that is run by the Council of Governors.
So why run a separate one?
But we want to have a conversation between the Senate and the national and the county assemblies, or in particularly in as far as their functioning is concerned. What is this that we've done? You heard what happened in Siaya. We are told that some members of county assembly has pocketed, is it about 400 million or thereabout? And that is a conversation that it's total shame, because you see, at the end of the day, it is expected that the county assembly should be the one to protect the interests of the members of public.
In Kisii, someone was telling me that they met for having chai somewhere at a restaurant. Oh, Mheshimiwa, Mheshimiwa. So there were several Mheshimiwas from Kisii County Assembly who were having tea. Wapi ule waiter? Speaker has walked in. Niitie Mora, unachua ile chai ile? Na ile mandazi? Letea speaker. Speaker, oh, by the way, now that we are many, I think we actually form quorum. Speakers, you call the meeting to order. Speaker is like, certainly. Speaker calls meeting to order. They have a conversation there. They decide what they need to do and the money that they need to spend. And the business is passed.
Come off it.
Are you kidding me?
And they went back to the assembly and they said, Toa pesa. See, meeting may happen. Speaker was present. Members were present. What more do you want? That's I don't know the extent of the truth of that, but those are the conversations that we're hearing from the counties.
And let me tell you, since the inception of devolution, we've had 2 speakers elevated from being speakers to senators. That is the High Excellence, the Speaker of Nakuru, and my good brother Steve Lelengwe, the former Speaker of Samburu. Only 2, and that is what I want to call even for my other speakers. Now that we have reached experience about devolution. Would it not be good, therefore, to be able to elevate this conversation to the Senate? So that then we can be, because we have hands-on experience. You understand? We have hands-on experience.
You know what needs to happen.
We know what needs to be to happen. And the other thing that I think needs to be done is the Constitution envision a situation whereby the senator will be addressing the county assembly at least annually. That is one thing that if you can be able to do a research, you will actually discover that.
Why is it important? So we already know that the governor addresses the county assembly. Okay, the executive comes to the assembly and they address. Why is it important for the senator to address the county assembly?
Let me ask you in the other way around. Then if the Senate is the protector of the counties, where do they meet? With their counterpart in the county assembly. Because we cannot only be meeting at the conferences. Okay? We cannot be meeting at the conferences. So my thinking, and that's what I want to do, I want to commit to the people of Elgeyo Marakwet that annually I will be able to have a sit down with the members of the county assembly, so that then we can, because you remember some of the functions are almost the same, okay? So we need to be able to share experience. We need to be able to help them. What are some of the conversations that need to transition to the national? Let me tell you one of the things that is lacking at the moment. We are having issues to do with finance bill. Finance bill is the bill that will be able to say, what are we going to be charging ABCD? Do you know that the county government finance bill, there is no hand for Senate? The Senate does not play a role in the finance bill.
Why should it?
Let me tell you. Now, if in this finance bill, we will be able to promote issues to industrialization. If there is a manufacturing company that needs to go and set base in E10, then the whole issues of incentives that will be able to do that. For me, that conversation should be able to be harmonized at the Senate, so that then we can be able to encourage more investors. Because let me tell you, for the last 10 years, we have hardly seen major investors investing in counties, save for the urban counties like Kisumu, Eldoret. But when you go to the rural counties, hardly do we have investors be able to do that. One, because we have all this punitive taxation, we have all this double taxation. You know, from one county to another, you cut sales from this county, you go to this other county. That is a conversation that I strongly believe need to be amended at the Senate. So that then, because what the Constitution envision is that with devolution, there will be an upsurge of factories. We will not be having this what you call the rural-urban migration. It should actually be the other way around.
I sort of hear you saying, Kochei, that you support the proposal that was in the 12th Parliament for the formation of a county development board chaired by the senator, and vice chair is the county governor. Do you remember that? So that was a proposal that some senators were having.
I know, that was sung. I remember that sung.
Like pushing for that. Pushing for the senator to have control of the kind of devolution or kind of projects that are undertaken at the county level. Is that the kind of thing that you're saying?
No.
Because when you say that you want the finance bill to be discussed and harmonized at Senate, you're basically sort of saying that you, county assembly and county executive should have no say in coming up with a finance bill at the county level. No. If your county senator says no.
Let me tell you. At the moment, when it comes to fiscal strategy and the policy, the Senate plays two roles. The division of revenue, what is the vertical, and the county allocation revenue. That is the one that's allocated to the county, and it ends there. Remember, it ends there. Even in matters of the budget, it ends there. There is nothing else that the Senate will be able to do in regard to the budget for the counties, in regard to the revenue division of revenue and the county allocation revenue. It ends there. And that is why I'm saying, and remember, we've had 10 years. We should be able to realize now that what are some of the pitfalls that we've been able to experience and what can be improved. From where I sit, I believe that there ought to be a synergy between the Senate and the county assembly in as far as the fiscal policy that is happening in the counties is related. I will not go for that where the governor sits with the Senate, but I want to look at the county assembly. Remember, even at the county, there is what you call economic budget council at the county. So some of the areas that I think the areas of partnership that can be able to strengthen devolution at the counties.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to ask then the question. The president has pledged to have more of the functions transferred to the county.
To the counties.
What do you think is a priority function that needs to be transferred like immediately?
There is no way, my friends, that we have Kilima House full of staff. We have, what do you call this, the
Afia
health
House.
ward, Afia House, full of staff. Yet those are some of the critical functions that have been transferred fully. The only thing that should be remaining in Nairobi, by the way, should be policy and harmonization of policies. The rest of the technical team should be able to go to the county. How then is it that there is a lot of money that is remaining at the Afia House, there's a lot of money that remains at the Kalima House, yet these are functions that are devolved? So my plea to the president is that we transfer functions, money will be able to follow functions, and again, let's equally transfer the staff at Afia House.
I hear that you're asking for a deeper involvement of the Senate in county matters.
Absolutely.
That up until this time, all right, there's an oversight role that that the Senate has played, but in terms of getting your hands dirty, as it were, that the Senate has not really been involved in that. So then it's also possible not to justify the existence of the Senate.
Of course, and anybody discussing that Senate is not worth being existent is the enemy of devolution. I will tell you that for free, because even looking at Article 93 of the Constitution that speaks about the role of the Senate, protector of devolution and the counties.
Absolutely.
I mean that cannot be underpinned and undermined.
So this oversight role, then, we're saying, needs to then be more deeply entrenched.
Yes.
But then I hear you also saying that there should be more that senators must do at the county level. Each county has its own senator. That's clear. I mean, away from the nominated ones then who have special duties.
Correct.
So then I'm still going back to this to say that if we're looking at development at the county level, I hear you saying that, and I would like maybe, because I know we're running down, but in terms of what would these things be and what would they actually produce? What, even if it was one more thing, one additional thing that the Senate would do at the county level, not just to cement the existence or to cement the role, but to say that really this devolution must happen and that senators can actually be responsible for 1, 2, 3 having been done.
I will tell you one, the budget making process. That is one area that I strongly believe that the Senate of Kenya is not so much involving itself in the budget.
Okay.
I would look for a scenario whereby even when the committee for budget are sitting in the county, can even the senator be able to be with them? You know, I mean, nothing stops you.
Sure.
I would want to appear. I would want to have a meeting. If my members of county assembly have a budget meeting in wherever in Kisumu, can I be able to appear? Let's have a conversation, because both of us are protectors of this constitution or whatever,
Of the devolution.
So let's have more direct involvement of Senate in the county affairs, so that we don't just become protectors in Nairobi, just protect us in Nairobi, and we're only waiting for impeachment of a governor. The only thing that you feel that the now Senate is very biting is impeachment of the governor. But I think there is more that can be done. And I've told you people, over and above division of revenue, over and above the county allocation bill, what next? Budget making process. We have had 10 years, and this is what if God helps me, I would want to ask to have a national convention between the senators and the county assembly. Secondly, let's have a council of speakers and the senators. You understand?
Okay.
So that then we can be able to drive this conversation deeper. Because from where I sit, people, I don't think that Senate has been devolved so much in the counties.
Okay.
I think we still,
we're still somewhere up there.
Yes.
Albert,
and that's a conversation I want to pull it down.
Well, thank you very much for coming in, and we'd like to invite you again, even as you continue your campaigns for the seat of Elgeyo Marakwet Senator, and even beyond that, because you talk about devolution so passionately. We talk about devolution and see whether all the functions are being transferred as is required, and also we see the role of the Senate and the county assemblies, like you've said. Albert Kochei is the vice chairperson of the Center for Multi-Party Democracy Kenya. He was the first speaker of the county assembly of Elgeyo Marakwet, and he wants to be the second senator of Elgeyo Marakwet County when that seat is declared vacant after Kipchumba Murkomen is confirmed by the National Assembly and appointed by the president. It's going to happen. That's what I'm just saying.
When, not if.
It's not if. And he becomes the next cabinet secretary for transport. and infrastructure. Thank you very much for joining us, Albert.